Hello, One Stormer One here. Today we'll be talking about an active pattern that is returning to Kentucky for Derby Week, where we get a couple of days where we had chances for showers of thunderstorms, and even some strong to severe storms can be on the table as well, especially for Tuesday and Thursday. We'll also talk a little bit about Kentucky Oaks and Derby Day, as those are the two biggest days of the year for the state of Kentucky. Let's get started with a watch warning advisory display across the country. Mostly quiet, especially out here in the east. Not many alerts out there across the eastern half of the U.S. Got some activity happening across the western half of the U.S. Got some scattered winter weather alerts out there, and even some fire weather issues across parts of the Four Corner states and even parts of southwest Texas and western Kansas. Those are the areas in hot pink are in red flag warnings out there. And they're going to get some more storms out there as well, and even some more severe weather, which we'll talk a little bit about that here in a few minutes. Here's the current air temperatures around noon. Temperatures, pretty nice. Upper 50s to low 60s across everywhere, just about anywhere in Kentucky. In the lows this morning, it's been a little bit chilly, but it's been staying mild in western Kentucky. 56 was the low for Fulton County. And the coolest spot has been in Harlan County in the mountains. 37 is the low, and we also got a couple of upper 30s in northeastern Kentucky as well. It's going to be another nice day, mostly dry, temperatures in mid-upper 60s to around 70 across most of Kentucky. And here's the high temperatures for tomorrow, and it's going to be much warmer out there. Temperatures get in the upper 70s to into the low 80s across the eastern half of Kentucky, but you get into western Kentucky, it's in the mid to maybe even some upper 80s out there. A high of 87 for Paducah, 86 for Hopkinsville, 85 for Bowling Green. So it's going to be a very warm day out there for Monday. And as you get into high temperatures for Tuesday, this is when we get our first chance for storms this week. Where we got high temperatures, generally in the low to mid 80s across most of the state out there. And of course, of what I just said, we got a storm chance for Tuesday here. Not just, storms in general, but also potential for strong severe storms out there as well. So this is the SPC outlook for today. Got a slight risk area that's across the high plains, anywhere from West Texas all the way up into North Dakota and southeastern Montana. Out there, all modes of severe weather could be possible for some of those areas. There's a big 5% tornado risk out there, but damage winds, also some very large hail can be in play. Day 2, which is tomorrow, we got a moderate risk for severe weather for parts of Iowa, Minnesota, and Wisconsin. Look to be a big outbreak of severe weather where conditions could be favorable for discrete supercells that could produce all modes of severe weather, very large hail, damage winds, and even tornadoes, and some of those tornadoes can be strong and long track. And that's actually a tornado-driven moderate, so 15% hatched area is in place, but damaged winds and very large hail are also in play out there. So tomorrow's looking to be a pretty big day in the upper Midwest. And that same system moves into Kentucky by Tuesday. And you can see here, not as high of a risk compared to Monday, but the probability is still there for some severe weather. You got a big slight risk area that extends from the Canadian border up in New York to almost to the Mexican border down towards Mexico in west central Texas out there. And not really talking about significant severe, at least for us anyway. There could be some significant severe West Texas, but that probably be a very large hail threat out there. And here's a closer look here in Kentucky. You can see here how the slight risk includes across northern and western Kentucky, southeastern Kentucky. Not really any severe weather risk out there for Tuesday here. Those storms should be in a much weaker state when they get in southeastern Kentucky into Tuesday night. But we're going to have a cold front that approaches here, which will help fire off some thunderstorms, and some of these storms can be strong to severe. So let's go on and talk about that. So we're going to start off with the European model here, and this is the primary model we're going to be looking at for this week here because it's been the better model so far this spring here. Some of the other medium range guidance have not been very good. But you can see some of those thunderstorms that goes across Iowa up there tomorrow. Some of those storms might survive getting into Kentucky. We'll see how they progress as they kind of go through Monday night and into Tuesday morning. Because if they do survive, that could mean an earlier arrival for storms here. But if they die out, then the arrival of the storms might be a little bit later. But the European model says they will survive for tonight and it will make it down here in Kentucky by Tuesday afternoon. But then again, it may die out before it gets here. We'll see about that. But either way, we'll have that chance for showers and storms out here across most of Kentucky for Tuesday. It might come in a couple waves for some areas here. And conditions do favor damaging winds and large hail out there. And if we look a little bit deeper into the severe weather setup, dew points will be deep in the 60s to almost around 70 out there in some areas. So we got the dew points. If you look at the upper level wind energy, this is the 500 millibar winds. We do have some wind energy out there. If I pull my pen out here, you can see here we got some of these pockets here of a little bit higher wind energy, which can help give a little bit of a boost for those storms. You notice here in southeastern Kentucky, we don't really have much of those winds out there, which is why you're not really in any severe weather risk out there. It's one of the reasons why. The area of the greatest amount of wind energy looks to be kind of along the Ohio River, from Paducah up towards Cincinnati. That would also include Louisville and also all of southern Indiana and northern Kentucky in there especially. And you can see how the wind energy kind of comes through across parts of the state through the evening, and it kind of fizzles out as you get into Tuesday night here. So really the best time frame for the strong severe storms would be Tuesday afternoon and into the evening, and really by past sunset the storm should be weakening. One thing we're lacking with this up here is the low level jet 850 millibar winds. This kind of gives you the amount of wind energy we could have for some of these storms, and actually has a great amount of wind energy generally south of the Ohio River here, where you got winds that could be up around 30 knots, maybe a little bit greater in some places. So we don't really have a very strong amount of wind energy out there, or a strong low level jet I should say, which will keep wind shear values in check. So low level wind shear will be on the weaker side, but we'll have decent amount of wind shear in the upper levels of the atmosphere, and that can actually favor some hail with some of these storms out there. But it's just good enough for some severe storms out there. It's just good enough out there. And we'll talk about instability here. We're actually looking at a different model. This is the high-risk end, which tends to do a little bit better on instability, especially as you get towards the summertime. But you can see here, ideally, what's favorable for severe weather is instability values greater than 1,000 joules per kilogram. At least 2,000 is even better. And we do have those values across really the entire state here, with the highest values in western Kentucky here. Might be a little bit overdone out there, but either way, you got more than enough instability out there for thunderstorms out there as well. So really most of your ingredients are in place for severe weather. It's not the best environment in the world, but it will be good enough to support at least some strong severe storms that could produce some damaged winds, some large hail. And I can roll out a quick spin-up tornado or two out there as well, despite the weak low of a shear out there. So it's not going to be a huge day or anything. At least I'm not expecting a big day of severe weather out there for Tuesday. As we go back to the precip type map here, you can see here that cold front then begins to stall out across Kentucky, which can mean here you get waves of showers and thunderstorms that can potentially train over some of the same areas. This may lead to the risk of some localized flooding issues out there, and these storms here would be moving generally west to east out there. So we'll have to watch that potential for some localized flooding issues. You can get a good amount of rain out of some of these thunderstorms. We got plenty of moisture in the atmosphere, so that means these thunderstorms could be quite sufficient in producing high rainfall rates out there And I also cannot rule out the potential for a couple of strong storms out there too. There is going to be plenty of instability to work with once again, but the wind energy is not going to be anywhere close to what we will have for Tuesday here. So the potential for severe storms on Wednesday is much lower compared to Tuesday. But I can run a couple of pulse-up strong thunderstorms out there. But I think the main hazard we got to watch out for is localized flooding issues out there if you get those training of thunderstorms. So then by Wednesday night, that stalled out boundary lifts north as a warm front, and we got another system that comes in here. And as we get into Thursday afternoon, we got a 1,003 millibar low moving across northern Missouri into north central Illinois. That'd be heading towards Chicago throughout the day here, which puts us deep in the warm sector. You can see the European model already showing plenty of thunderstorms out there. And even going into Thursday evening out there, got storms that are generally scattered to maybe even numerous at times out there. And you can see here how this low pressure system is slowly strengthening as it moves off to the northeast, which is sometimes key when it comes to severe weather setups. Usually with a strengthening low pressure system means better wind energy a little bit later day, and especially towards peak time heating. So that kind of gives you an idea that Thursday may actually have higher potential than Tuesday, which if you do say that, I would agree with. So let's look deeper into Thursday here. So this is going back to dew points here. You can see where your cold front is. Your cold front is right here, or your stalled out boundary. It's right in here, and that's actually not a very good color to use. Let me use a different color. Let's use red here. So your boundary is right here. And you can see here how the boundary doesn't quite make it down to Kentucky, maybe down towards Cincinnati, but overall it doesn't go for across the entire state. So it's going to be another humid day, and we'll have multiple rounds of some showers and thunderstorms out there. And you see how it lifts north as a warm front, and as we get into Thursday, you can see here we got widespread 60 plus dew points, so we got plenty of moisture to work with out there. It's even suggesting the potential for some upper 60s out there in some areas. So dew points are good for severe weather. If we check out the upper level wind flow at 500 millibars, you can see there for Wednesday here, not a lot of wind energy to work with, so I'm not really concerned about severe weather for Wednesday. However, as you get into Thursday, and okay, this is different compared to Tuesday. We have what's known as a neutral tilt trough here, which you can see it right here, this red line here. Anytime we have neutral tilt troughs, that can help enhance potential for severe weather. And there are different types of troughs. You got positive, neutral, and negatively tilt. Usually the negative tilt troughs produce the more significant severe weather. However, you can still get severe weather even with neutrally and even positively tilted troughs as well. But negatively tilt is usually the bigger one. And you can see here with a neutrally tilt trough, we got a pretty good amount of wind flow at 500 millibars, even a little bit of divergence aloft as well. So that can help bring a little bit of lift for some of these thunderstorms here. And ideally, the area watched for severe weather would be in this area right in here. The area I've circled in red, which can be from portions of the mid-Mississippi River Valley into the lower Ohio Valley as well. So this whole area in here could be favored for severe weather, at least based off of the 500 millibar winds anyway. So we got plenty of wind flow at 500 millibars. This is going towards Thursday evening. We still got plenty of wind flow above our head, so we're going to have some wind shear out there. If we check out the low of a jet here, you can see here low of a jet basically non-existent for Wednesday. However, as you get into Thursday, especially towards Thursday evening, this is one of those things where we got to watch out for with a strengthening low pressure system. Anytime we have a strengthening low pressure system, the wind fields begin to increase. And that's exactly what you see here going into Thursday evening. You can see here earlier in the day, the low of a jet's not as strong here, maxing out probably 30 to 40 knots. But as you get into like Thursday evening, okay, it picks up to almost 50 knots, to about 50 knots. And with this type of wind energy, 850 millibars or the Lovajet region, this will be supportive for severe weather out there. So you got plenty of wind energy out there. So that's another check mark off the list. And another thing I like to look into is the wind fields at the surface here to kind of give me an idea what type of wind shear we're going to be dealing with here for Thursday. Is going to be non-directional or directional wind shear, and there is a big difference there. Anytime we get non-directional shear, that means the winds from the surface all the way up to the atmosphere are going at the same direction. Not really ideal wind shear for tornadoes. It really isn't ideal. And that's usually what happens when you have a weaker surface low, is when you have non-directional shear. However, if you get directional shear, which means you get wind change of direction as you go up in the atmosphere, that would be a little more supportive for tornadoes. Now, with the European model showing a strengthening low, those low-level winds will try to turn as you get up towards the upper parts of the atmosphere. So you can see here the winds. You can see some wind bars are kind of out of the south and some other wind bars kind of out of the southwest. So there is some wind change of direction with height. If I go back here to 850 millibars, you can see here winds are generally out of the southwest. And same wind with 500 millibars out there as well. So your upper level winds are kind of out from the same direction, so out of the southwest. But you can kind of see here as you go towards the surface, you do have some winds that turn a little bit more southerly in a couple of places out there. So with this type of environment here, it could be a little more favorable for maybe the potential for some isolated tornadoes. And when we kind of go back to the precip type map, you can see here this is not going to be a linear event. This may be more of a discrete mode for storms, which means storms are generally scattered in nature. So that tells me that this setup here can be favorable for supercells that may produce all modes of severe weather, which is why I believe Thursday has higher potential compared to Tuesday. Overall, the setup looks a lot better. Now, for right now, the SPC doesn't have anything highlighted for Thursday because of some model disagreement. If you were to look at the GFS model, it's weaker with the surface low out there and has a little bit of a different evolution with it. So there is some uncertainty with this system here. And here's a look at instability here. And you can see here we do have some areas getting anywhere from 1,000 to 2,000 joules per kilogram of CAPE here. Areas where there's not as much CAPE is likely where we have some thunderstorms ongoing out there, which is why the 1,000 plus CAPE is kind of looks spotty out there. But regardless, so Thursday is definitely a day we got to watch as we get closer here. And I'll let you guys know if there's any changes for Thursday as well. But I think Thursday is definitely one of those days we got to watch closely as we get closer. So after Thursday, going into Kentucky Oaks Day, the European model does have some showers lingering around across Kentucky here. And we got this colder northwest wind that is out there. So Oaks Day, not looking the best day. You can see those little green specks out there, which tells me it's showery, maybe some sprinkles out there. So not really the best looking day out there for Oaks Day. If we look at temperatures here, this is Thursday high temperatures there. And if I go to Friday, which is Oaks Day, high temperatures could be in the low to mid 70s out there. But if we got more cloud cover around, it might be a few degrees cooler out there. So temperatures may be more in the 60s if we got more cloud cover hanging around out there. But if we go into Derby Day, European model says, hey, we're staying dry. Got a high pressure system that is right over Kentucky, 1,020 millibar high pressure system over southeast Kentucky, which means we stay dry. And if I go back to the temperature forecast for Derby Day, temperatures really in the low to mid 70s, maybe a little bit cooler in northeastern Kentucky. But overall, Derby Day is looking very nice out there. Hopefully it stays that way, but we'll let you guys know if there's any changes for Kentucky Oaks and for Derby Day. But anyways, guys, that's all I got for you guys today. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Guys, like this video, hit the like button. If you really like my channel, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell notifications so you never miss an upload. If you guys get any questions, put a comment section down below. I'll answer you guys questions. I'll see you guys in the next video. Goodbye and have a good day.